you giving me the information of what you need, and
Right.
then I'm just supporting. It's like teamwork.
Reiki is a Japanese energy healing practice built around 5 just for today principles. Just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will be grateful. Just for today, I will do my work diligently. Just for today, I will be kind to every living thing. We live in a world where concepts like these are discussed, debated, idealized, and rarely followed. Often, that's because we make them bigger than they need to be. We ask others, and ourselves, to be kind all the time, or be grateful for everything. These are not measurable ideals. They are extremes, and practically impossible for the flawed human to achieve. While modern society teaches us to believe in these extremes, Reiki teaches us that it's not about doing the right thing at every moment. It's about doing the right thing just for today. More than a Reiki master, Nadine Tonnis carries many labels. Yoga teacher, personal trainer, swim instructor, holistic coach, as she defines herself. But beneath all those titles is something very simple. She is an educator, someone who has spent years helping people understand themselves through movement, energy, wellness, and care. Her work sits at the intersection of ancient traditions and modern science, especially in the worlds of health and well-being. Her teaching reaches beyond the physical body and opens up questions about energy, spirit, and healing. More than that, she follows the Reiki ideal of living in the moment as well as anyone I've ever met. Her energy is warm and genuine, and she speaks and acts like someone grounded in herself and her beliefs. Her ability to stay unbothered by the extreme-centric quality of modern society, living one day at a time, is what allows her to stay present in everything she does. My name is Yuvan Raseo, and every 2 weeks, I sit down with people from all walks of life who have something meaningful to offer. Lessons, stories, and honest reflections on personal growth. These conversations aren't about having all the answers. They're about learning from people who've lived through moments of loss, change, and renewal. Welcome to Lived Words.
So I want to start with a theoretical. If someone completely unfamiliar, you didn't know you, asked, what do you do? What would you say?
That is a good question. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm doing so many different things, it's hard to put it into one word. And I always give this introduction. I'm doing this and this and this, and I did these courses, and I think at the end of the day, I like to wrap it up as a holistic coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm working on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, and very much on a spiritual level as well. So holistic is the key word, I would say.
Okay, interesting. And you say, so there's 3 levels the emotional level, physical level, spiritual level. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about sort of each one? Mm-hmm. Where do you feel like you're connecting them to each other?
In my work?
Yeah.
Well, there's yoga,
right,
which very much connects to all 3 of them, which is why I love it so much, because yoga actually means union of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. However, I'm also a nutritionist. That is definitely very much on the physical side. Any mindfulness work I'm doing, meditation and breath work, I would connect more to the mental health kind of side. Mm-hmm. However, like it's all kind of connecting into each other, right? You can't really separate it. As a Reiki master, I'm working with energy. So again, like you would be more connected maybe to the spiritual side. However, it has a big effect on your mental and physical health. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it is all connected. Yeah. You really cannot dissect it. And that's exactly why I love it so much. Right. And that's why I decided to go down that many different routes, to have all these different angles. Because everybody needs to start at a different point. And I started with the physical side back then, because that's how you can access people the easiest, I feel. because everybody knows physical health is important, right?
Yeah.
Mental health now is becoming a bigger topic, but people didn't like to talk about that much.
Yeah.
And emotional health is something very personal and very intimate, and can be scary for people to tap into that. But the physical part is the most obvious. So that's why I started back then with my first yoga teacher trainings and personal trainer trainings to tap into the physical, to kind of connect with people, and then one leads into the other. And as
Yeah.
Reiki came into my life, that was a perfect
Sort of a doorway.
avenue to
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
connect.
Absolutely. I almost wonder if in sort of today's age, in the modern world where we have technology and all these things, and we live in a very different environment than sort of our biological systems are designed to, do you feel like there's a lack of unity in these three sort of major aspects of health or wellness, in the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, in this modern kind of age among modern people, society?
Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately, yes. I think especially in our part of the world, it's definitely different in other cultures where this is very much part of daily life and the human experience, versus in our Western world, we're very focused on research, on science, on solutions, on anything mental. We're very mentally orientated, and the emotional and the spiritual often gets pushed to the side because there's just no time for it.
Yeah.
Because it's about being productive, about constantly doing something and reaching something. So yes, unfortunately, and I think that is one of the big reasons why we do have so many mental health and problems and depression and anxiety. And I personally believe it's a lot about the spiritual disconnection, that we only recognize ourselves as humans in this physical body, in this physical world, very science orientated,
Right.
versus realizing that the core of us is actually the spirit. And if your spirit is neglected, you can't be happy, and you will always feel some sort of emptiness. So yes, unfortunately, I think that's what we are seeing a lot these days.
And I feel like there's this idea of busyness. Like, we're too busy. I'm too busy to take care of my spirit. Like, I don't have time to do yoga in the mornings. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do these things. I have to work. I have to do money, make money. I have to take care of my health, my body, right? Because we think about health as a physical thing. You know, I need to go to the gym. I need to go for a run. I need to go for walks, whatever it is, which are all healthy things, of course. But I think there's this aspect of we're so focused on like the busyness of life, right? Of this sort of this endless kind of rush of like, I have to do all of these things and I have to get all these things done and I have to do all this stuff, right? And there's this really interesting concept that I like to think about. It's like, and you've heard this explained. We've had this explained to us. We've talked about it. The idea of health span versus lifespan versus how much of your life are you enjoying? Because it's great if you're healthy physically and you do all these things and you're dedicated to like, I'm going to do all this, and you don't enjoy your life. It's not really worth it because there's nothing to like enjoy. If life is not fun, then there's no like. What is the life? What is the life that you really live in? Right? If you
It's
can't.
shallow.
Yeah, it's shallow. Great. It's a great word. Yeah, it's sort of empty. There's not a sense of fulfillment in that life, and I think that can only really come when you have that balance with these three aspects. Right? When you bring in the spiritual aspect of it, and you find this sort of unity, because with just the first two, there's an imbalance. You're not really whole as a person.
I think you said a big keyword there, money. We are living in a capital system.
Right.
It's all about money, and when it comes to money, emotions or spiritual health, fulfillment, family relationships, all these things that are very, very essential for our happiness and for joy in life, they are getting neglected because they don't make money.
Right.
And we are very focused on that, and it's a very difficult task in this modern society, in this very fast-paced life, to find the balance in that. So there's never black and white. It's everything has its place, but I think the challenge really is, how can I live in this physical world and in this capitalistic system without losing myself and with still finding the time to actually connect to parts of me that I don't use in daily life for my work and for my tasks and my to-do lists and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, and if we manage to find a balance in that, that's where the happiness lays, I think.
Right, and it's I think there's this idea people talk about, well, money doesn't buy happiness, and which I agree with, but I also think that part of the flaw in our society today is that it's very difficult to live in comfort and to feel sort of a freedom to be able to I have the time to do these things, I have the freedom to do these things, unless you're making money and you're doing all of the work things, right? And so into some aspect of it, there is an individual choice that needs to be made of like, I want to prioritize something, like my health, my happiness, to an extent for material things, right? But I also think that it is a fair point to say that, societally we're flawed, right? Because we're rewarding this high effort, high work, high stress lifestyle, with money, with this idea that you need money to buy food and to you can't be happy unless if you're starving. I mean, wait, it's hard. It's very hard, right? So there's a sort of a minimum requirement sort of concept that comes into our minds of, okay, I need to have this much money, which means I need to work this hard, which means I need to do this and have this job and go to this school and whatever it is. And the societal aspect of it is in my mind the bigger problem, because I do think that people want to be happy. I don't think people generally don't want to be happy. Some people feel that they don't deserve to be happy or they don't need to be happy because there's other things that are more important. And that is a flaw in the way that we've been taught and the way that things that we see in the world and what's prioritized by our parents and by our peers and all of those things. And the people who we look up to we see them in these high stress work environments and we think this is the way that life should be.
It gets celebrated.
Right, it's not, and absolutely it's celebrated, right? You work so hard. It's like it's good to work hard, right? But it's also good to have balance.
Yes.
Essential. I think it's more important.
Essential.
I think it's more important. Yeah.
And I think you said something very important there again about being comfortable. It's about comfort, right? Like our society is very much about comfort.
Right.
And the really one of the key factors is though that healing and creating true happiness always happens in discomfort. It never happens in comfort. Of course, we all enjoy the comfort more. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's beautiful, but we need to go through discomfort, and discomfort also might mean sometimes that you don't have everything you are desiring or you are craving for, because that is exactly when you step back and you really ask yourself, what do I really need? Do I really need that car? Do I really need that big of a house? Do I really need that brand of clothes or whatever it might be, right? There is always ways to live your life comfortable with less. And that is a very, very important part of our journey, I think, because we are accumulating so much comfort and wealth and things and stuff. And at the end of the day, it leaves us quite empty. The true key to happiness is not in those things. And as a society constantly thriving towards that is exactly what we're seeing, where we are lacking then in the emotional health, in the actual joy, what you said, like happiness, right? That is, it's such a difficult word to explain, right? But yes, I think that's the very essence of life. You want to be happy. You want to be fulfilled, and material things will never give you that, however nice they are to have, of course. And I think that is a question everybody needs to ask themselves. What do I really need so I feel happy? So I feel joyful, I feel fulfilled, I feel whole, I feel content. Rather than just kind of working towards things which require money, because that's when you come into this chain reaction, as you were saying. Like you work, so you reach that, but then once you have that, you also reach you interact with different people, and then you see, okay, they have that. It's just one thing goes into the next. That's how the whole capitalism system is built upon, right? Like that's what the whole idea of marketing is. Like you always want more, and the more you have, then there's other things you want. And so it's a never-ending story. And the sooner you become aware of that, the better.
Right.
Because the next step is not going to make you happy. It's different things
Yeah.
you might want to look into.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting because it really, I think a lot of it comes down to the sort of comparison that happens, right? Where we compare ourselves to others and situations to others, and oh, I'm unlucky, I didn't get this, I wasn't born with that, and all the things can be true, but at the same time, and I think social media exacerbates this so much because we see all the the best things about people's lives, and people are posting and doing all these fun things, and it's like those are not human beings, right? Those are masks, essentially. They're fake things. They're photo collections, and there's this interesting sort of idea where we think that what we see of people, what people allow us to see of themselves, is their whole self, and it's rarely true, right? I don't think even for me, not a lot of people know me very well, right? Like, there's a few people, right, who I've had the pleasure to talk to and connect with, and I think know me in my whole sort of being. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who wouldn't think about me in the same way, right? And the same, I'm sure it's true for you, and I think for all of us, right? And that's a natural human thing. We find our tribe, we find our people that we connect with, and those people really know us and understand us, and others don't fully, and that's okay. That's how it is. That's how it should be. But we get to this point where we think that we know people, right? We think we know them, and we think we understand them, and in reality, we understand a sliver. We understand a part that they want us to understand.
Exactly.
Right?
What they want to show you.
What they want you to see, and it's sometimes it's good things, and sometimes it's bad things. And sometimes it's things that we don't agree with, and sometimes it's things we do agree with, but we are not seeing a complete person. And so when people go online and they see these things and they think, man, I want to be like that person, or I don't want to be like that person. This person sucks. This person's great. You're only seeing a piece, right? That person who you think is awful may be awful, and also may have other things that are good about them that we don't know, and is a great, great family person, and has beautiful kids, and they are a fantastic parent, or I don't know. We don't know. We don't know the completeness of the human being. And the reverse can be true as well, right? And they're a great parent, and they post about their kids all the time, and they're actually awful at work, and they're mean to all their coworkers. We don't know. Like, it's unknown, completely unknown. So, I think and then these stories come out about, like, oh wow, we figured this thing out, but this influencer is like, to some extent, I'm not shocked, because I didn't know this person at all, right? And so for that fact that they maybe have this thing that they're doing, and they're not supposed to be doing, or it's illegal, or is a bad thing, and then we find out and we're all in outrage about it, we didn't know this person at all, right? We think that we did, and we're wrong. And as much as it's shocking that people do awful things, it's not shocking to me that we were wrong, because we didn't ever really know.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important part of being a human, that we understand that we have no right to judge, ever. And I mean ever, even with the worst person in human history, because you never know the background of a story, you don't know where the person comes from, you don't know the upbringing of that person. I always say, like, if I would have been born in a different country at a different time, in a different culture, I would be a completely different person, right? Because that is what influences you.
Yeah.
And then obviously all your personal experiences, like your upbringing, traumatic experiences, etc. So we never have any right to judge, because we do never see the whole picture. And I think with social media, that's one of the really dangerous things of social media, exactly what you pointed out. Like, people show what they want to show you, or they show something on purpose to provoke, to start conversations, to get followings, to get clicks, right? Yeah. It's a very difficult world to deal with. And I personally also would recommend everyone looking at social media, like them maybe being envious, right, of what that person has or not have, or like whatever it might be. We all react differently to different things, right? To understand that the reality might look very different. Yeah. And also very often, honestly, people who put themselves out the most might actually have the least self-esteem. They need recognition, they need attention, they need something to feel validated and accepted and applauded and celebrated.
Right.
So that might not actually be a positive thing when somebody is very, like glamorous in a social media world, to keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, honestly, like we all should look much more inwards rather than outwards.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big key to happiness and to fulfillment.
Yeah, and there's something that people say in fitness, which you may have heard, obviously being in that space, beat the logbook, right? Mm-hmm. The goal is always to improve from the past version of yourself. Mm-hmm. You want your weights to increase, you want your reps to increase, whatever it is, in that idea. And I think that applies to life, right? You're trying to beat the logbook of who you used to be, trying to be better than that person, marginally, right? And continue, that's how growth happens. You're trying to be better than the person you were before. You're beating the logbook of your past self. And when we look outward and compare, it's just like that's not realistic, right? You can't compare. And like you said, everybody comes from different backgrounds and has different situations, and will be completely different because of that. And so, in the basis in which we're comparing as human beings, yes, we're all human beings, but most of what makes up that human, right, in terms of their psychological development, their brain chemistry, who they are, is based on their life, right? It's based on how they actually grew up. Like it's not based on their cell structure, and that essentially is what we don't know, right? That's the part of it that we don't understand, and that's the majority of what makes that person.
100%.
And so we cannot judge on that because we don't know.
It's the experiences that shape you.
Right. Exactly. I want to go back quickly to Reiki. What is Reiki in your words? How would you think about Reiki healing? And what does it mean to you?
It means a lot to me. Oh my God. For me, it's really it helped me to truly understand the world, or a little bit better, let's say it like that. Because at the end of the day, Reiki is energy healing. So we're talking about energy, right. And energy is the root of everything else. So when you define energy, it means information, vibrating information. Everything that's alive has a certain frequency, so there's a vibration. That means it is alive, and other than that, it's information. So when you think about DNA, for example, it's just encoded information within our system, right? Yeah. So energy is something very scientific, actually, and right. Because it's information, anything physical comes out of information. So you have the information first, and then based on that information, everything else kind of comes from there. So if you understand the root and you learn to work with that information, then you can change your physical, mental, emotional health, whatever it might be. So I like to describe Reiki sometimes like a massage for the soul, because it really works with you as a whole. It really works with your soul, rather than just tissues. Yeah. And it is very gentle. That's another thing I love about it. I love yoga. I really do, and I really truly believe everybody should do it, and the whole philosophy behind yoga. However, as you were pointing out with the comparison, you are right. Like a lot of people shy away from doing yoga because they compare themselves with others, and they think they have to get into these crazy positions to, which is not what yoga is about at all. Yeah. And with Reiki, it is a bit more accessible for everyone because there's no particular skills you need. It's very intimate. There is no possibility for comparison. So that's what I really love about it, that it's so gentle and it really works for everyone, which is other things might be not immediately accessible, right? Depending on your life situation, your health, etc. Right. So yeah, for me, Reiki really is, so it's energy healing, and it's a beautiful way to get to know yourself. It's a very You enter a very deep meditative state. So you're diving in, you're moving away from all that overthinking, and you're moving away from that mental space, and you really go inwards. So it's like the conscious versus the subconscious, and it is in that space where you can find answers. So It might be working on levels where you might be able to make decisions or deal with situations and challenges you have been struggling with. It might help you on a physical level to literally release physical blockages and issues and symptoms you had experienced. And it also can help you to deal with emotional struggles you have had, like healing past traumas, things like that. So it is so diverse, and it really finds people where they need help the most. Because very often I think people find themselves in places where they are so overwhelmed, and it's their physical health, it's their mental health, it's their emotional states, everything is a mess. So it's, where do you start? Where do you begin? And that's where Reiki is one of my favorite tools, because Reiki will lead the way. It will show you what it is that is the first step. And then you take it from there. It's not the end solution. Like there's no end solution. It is always a combination of a lot of different things. And it always involves work. Always, it's not just there's no magical healing tool out there that will fix you and fix your problems. But it will bring you onto the right path and support you on that path, so you can find the right tools and the right people and do the right things for you in your situation wherever you're at. So I hope that kind of makes sense.
No, it does. And I think it's interesting because it's not like before I met you, that wasn't a term that I knew. Like, I didn't know what Reiki was. But hearing you explain it, I sort of have a sense of, and having obviously done it with you, I have a sense of what that's like, and it is a unique feeling, right? Where, at least for me, I almost fell asleep. Like I sort of drifted into an unconscious state of I just felt very relaxed. And I woke up, and I think I told you after their session, and I felt like I had slept, 8 hours. Like I felt like I completely had a great night's sleep. I was very relaxed, and had I was awake in a way that I think I hadn't been. What does it feel like to do? I think and to experience. I think that having someone who hadn't done it before, that was my question. I asked my mom. I was like, I don't know what how does this work? Because you're not touching me. Right, for the most part, it's not like a massage or anything. Like you said, it's not physical. How does one experience Reiki? And I think even more interestingly, when you're doing Reiki healing, what does that feel like for you?
It's a good question. I love it. I really love it. I love everything I do, but Reiki very quickly became my favorite thing to do because of all the reasons I just pointed out. I was saying that energy is vibrating information.
Right.
And as something is vibrating, it creates waves, oscillation. That's where the term energy fields come from.
Right.
So we're talking about subtle things here you can't see, but you can feel.
Yeah.
And as with everything in life, the more you learn about something, the more you practice something, the more often you do it, the better you get at it, or the more sensitive you are to it, right? The more natural it becomes, and the stronger it becomes. And that's what happens with Reiki. So when I very, very first learned about Reiki and started practicing with other people as well, it was completely different than now. It's literally I sometimes explain it to my students like a switch you turn on. It's you go into a session, you turn on that switch, and then you are connecting with the energy of that person, and then that energy guides you. It's literally I mean, I don't want to get too far into the technical details, because it's all about magnetism, and it's like literally you being led by the body, by the energy in front of you, and it's really beautiful because that takes away so much pressure. Because I think for people like us who dedicated their lives to helping people, to coach people, to help them heal and all that, as we were saying, we are also individual, and one will never completely understand another human being.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure as well on that side, right? Because that client of yours or whatever it is so complex.
Yeah.
And that's what I love with Reiki, because it's literally the energy guiding me. It's not me doing the work. It's actually you giving me the information of what you need, and I'm just supporting. It's like teamwork.
Yeah.
But it's hard to explain, honestly. It really is very hard to explain if you have not experienced it. At the end of the day, though, we all do. If you actually pay attention, and the thing is, feeling those things comes with stillness and comes with quietness. And
it's rare these days.
Exactly, that's rare these days. But if you actually do these experiments and you try to consciously observe and be quiet and still, you feel somebody's energy. Like sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's less. But I'm sure you have had experiences where you walk into a room and somebody has a very strong aura, or like it can go in a lot of different directions, right? Or you experience interaction with a person and you feel drawn to that person, or you are kind of being pushed away for whatever reason, and no judgment there, but it's a stranger. So that's energy. It's there. It's hard to explain because it's something we cannot see, we cannot smell, we cannot touch, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Like I said, it's the information behind, it's the code. It's like a building, right? You don't see whatever the architect came up, you just see the building, because that's the physical result of it. But first, it's in the mind, right? Like the thought, the idea, all that is energy. So it really is the most broad topic, like which is essential for everything in life. So to come back to your question, I love doing it because it's also, for me, like we are very social creatures, and I truly believe that part of our existence, part of our purpose, or also part of what makes us truly happy is helping each other and being there for each other and connecting with each other. And Reiki gives me this beautiful platform to be able to connect to somebody on a very deep level. Like you kind of skip all the, I don't want to say bad words here, but you skip the shallow, the small talk, the stuff the cushioning, and you go straight to what really matters, and that's the core of the person. That's energy. It's like that. All what we were saying, the experiences that make the person that is right in front of you right now. And that for me is what Reiki is, and that's why I love it so much. And it also helps me at the end of the day, because whenever I get to help somebody else, that will help me. That's the beautiful thing about giving and about coaching and about healing. But there's a lot of words, right? But whenever you do something good for another human being, it will always benefit yourself. So for me, when I give Reiki, I also receive it. And so it's a beautiful, gentle and rewarding experience also for me. And I have just seen so many beautiful results, and it's so often that a person comes to you and kind of lays down in front of you, and an hour later it feels like a different person comes back up, like lighter and clearer and more aware. And I think I like the word lighter. Like you see that very often in the eyes. It's just like, whoa, it's like something is lifted, because very often you be carrying around so much heaviness and so a fog and weight. And Reiki can help a lot with that. And it's so powerful sometimes just with one approach, or like it shifts and they can happen sometimes rather quickly. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And then you, like I said, you keep going on that journey. But for me, it's that.
I really connected with what you just said about getting in deep, right? Sort of skipping the fluff of small talk, of almost sometimes useless conversation, getting into the purpose of this conversation. Why are we here? What are we doing? What is the goal? Is something that I try to do in my interviews. Like it's like, that's like a regular thing that I'm doing, is where I'm trying to get into that. And it often helps when you know a person, right? You and I have met before, and it makes it easier because I know you, and we can kind of have a sort of ease of relaxation. But people that I haven't, especially people that are interviews that I'm doing with people who we're meeting that day or meeting even soon before, and we haven't had a chance to really have a deep conversation. It can be difficult to really get into like, can we get honesty? Can we get the real truths and the stories and the knowledge? Because all the people that I'm interviewing are unique and have these brilliant thoughts and ideas and an understanding of the world that's different. Which is why when I'm talking to them, why I want the audience to hear them and hear what they have to say. But it is, it's sort of a thing that I'm learning how to do as I do this, and the more I do it, the more I learn. And it's just this idea of like, I want to get into sort of the meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah.
Really get into the interesting stuff, the stuff that makes every individual unique, right? And makes them special and makes their story important to be heard. Just getting past that sort of fluff, and it's something that you mentioned, because it's something that I think about all the time. Like, how do I do this better?
Yeah.
How do I get into this better? It's like the whole job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Makes sense. You're asking the right questions,
Yeah.
and you will get to the core.
Absolutely. You also mentioned that you're a teacher, and I want to get into that a little bit, because I think that often in today's society, we talked about this earlier with the idea of us being rushed, but even there's almost like a stigma around certain words, right? You talk about holistic medicine, people are like, no, that's weird, I don't want to do that. It's like, ancient stuff, okay, whatever. We have modern technology, we have new medicine, we have science and all these things, which is important and needed in a certain lens. Spirituality, okay, yeah, whatever. Energy, okay, whatever, that's not real. As a teacher, trying to teach what you know and what you've learned, and this understanding that you have of the world and the way that it functions on a different level than traditional medicine or traditional healing works. I think there's different, we're treating different things. And how do you deal with that? Because that is a reaction I'm sure that you've had, and it's something that even I have if I talk about things like that, and people are like, yeah, okay, this is nonsense, this guy's talking whatever. How do you deal with that as a teacher?
Better and better and better, I have to say, because you're absolutely right. That was definitely something I was struggling with, because it is so hard to grasp, and people kind of roll your eyes on you, and it's belittled, and it's kind of laughed at, or not laughed, but it's just not taken seriously.
Yeah.
Honestly, what helped me a lot with that was my own personal journey, my own healing, physically, mentally, emotionally, you name it. I have experienced trying a lot of Western or like scientific, medical kind of solutions, and trying those alternative, if you want to call it like that,
Right.
Ways. And my personal experience, like nothing there helped me, everything there helped me. And that gives you sort of confidence, because I can tell from my experience, and I have tested a lot, and I'm from Austria, like it's a very rational kind of mentality and very analytic and very, you get what you see. Yeah, like there is no, like, it's not that kind of background, right? So I totally get that scientific approach, and that's how I operated most of my life. Yeah. And then when you make those experiences yourself, you start to have a different perspective, and then at the end of the day, it's not right or wrong. It's how can we merge it, and that's a big part of my work, and that's what I'm trying to do as a teacher. So I'm helping other people to understand the concept behind it, because yes, the mental aspect, and that's where we in our society very much focus on, is the mental. Like it's about learning, studying, understanding, analyzing, proving, like that's kind of. And that's where it gets difficult with those things, because there is no machine, there is no computer program, there is nothing you can like grasp as easily. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do in my courses because I'm teaching other people how to become Reiki practitioners, or like just teaching about Reiki. Same with yoga, to help people to understand the actual background, the scientific background. Start there, but then giving them the chance to experience it personally on themselves, because everything you experience and you feel has a very much different weight than something you just learned and up there as knowledge. That's knowledge, and that's experience. Right. And then the rest comes with practice, and actually the proof comes over time. And I am by now, honestly, like I don't care what people think anymore. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because if somebody is kind of belittling it or like, you know, like, I don't know, like just not recognizing it or respecting it, and then that's okay. That's that person's decision.
Right.
And then that person is just not ready for it, or it's not right for them at that point for whatever reason. That's where we're back with no judgment, right? No judgment from my side, and I know what I know. I know what I've experienced. I know what I feel. I have been doing this now for a long time, and yeah, I'm super dedicated to help people understand it as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I started going down the route of education,
right.
even more than just practicing it, because I truly believe that people need to learn about it.
Yeah.
Not just experience it. It's one thing to experience a Reiki session. It's another thing to actually learn about energy and why does it actually work and how does it work, and you get a different understanding, and that gives you more depth, or a different base, like the foundation you can build upon. And at the end of the day, I always would recommend everybody try it. You have to try things to understand. You have to try things out to see.
Right.
Give it a chance.
Yeah.
You know, there's no side effects. That's the good thing about it. You know? It's not any medical procedure that has a list of side effects.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
just
if it doesn't
try
work
it.
And you don't like it, then you don't have to do it again.
Exactly. But I think we all need to be a bit more open-minded, because as we were saying, we are so shaped by our experiences and our society and our part. Like when you look at a globe, I mean, this world is a big place, and I always like to keep that in mind, and that's what I'm trying to do in my teachings as well. Like kind of pulling in different traditions from different parts of the world and combining them with modern science, showing that it's not contradictory, it's actually complementary. That's a big part of my teaching and what I love to do. And in all my studies and experiences and travels and all that, for me the beautiful thing about ancient tradition and more like what we call like kind of the Eastern world, right, is that they are all agreeing. It's like over thousands of years from totally different corners of the globe, developed traditions, but at the end of the day, they have the same message. And for me, that is the biggest proof that can happen. And we in our Western world do an amazing job of finding ways to prove things, right? And it's, when you think about a microscope, for example, right? Like before there was a microscope, nobody knew anything about bacteria and pathogens and all these things. That doesn't mean they didn't exist.
Right.
They still existed. We just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So it's just, and our Western science is already getting to a great point of being able to measure energy and waves and fields and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a work in progress, and I'm just honestly at this point I am proud of doing this work.
Right.
I am not worried about people maybe not recognizing it anymore. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's my journey.
Yeah. I think there's something interesting that you said about the first thing that you said was better and better every day. Is an improvement. It's an ongoing growth, right? You're learning to be almost secure in oneself and one's own experience and one's own knowledge. It's a skill that needs to be worked on, and we all work on it throughout our lives. And one of the most interesting things, I think, just from my lens, you know, as an 18-year-old, when we think about adults, right? As a kid, you think about an adult, and it's like, man, adults got it all figured out. They're working, they're gonna take them to school, they're cooking, they're making their own food, they I don't know, they remember to brush their teeth in the morning, like all these things are like, oh man, they got it all figured out, they know what they're doing. And I think for young people, for many of us, we get to a certain age and we feel like we don't have it all figured out. We should, because we're adults now. Like, you know, I'm 18, you know that guy's 20 and she's 22, and it's like, man, we should know what we're doing, and we don't. And I think, and this is a conversation that I had just today with my aunt about this idea of adulthood, of really having figured out. Like, it doesn't just come at a certain age. You don't wake up one day and like, I got it now, right? It's not how it works. You know, it's not, you know, on your birthday and you're like, yeah, figured it out, we're good, 100%.
Yep.
It's a gradual process, right? It's a growing process. And it happens over time. And I think that a lot of people get to a certain age and they feel like they should have it all figured out. They don't need to learn anymore. There's no more growth to be done. Like I said, people get stuck. They get stuck in their ways. They get stuck in this belief that I should have it all figured out, so I do have it all figured out. And internally, they're like, oh my God, I don't have it all figured out. And it's stressful. Stressful to live like that.
Yeah.
And I think and it goes back to a little bit of that society element where I think we live in a society where that's expected to some extent of like people should know what they're going to do. And, you know, when we ask kids what they want to do in life, it's like, they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have no clue. And
yet they're happy and light.
Because they don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Very true.
They care about, you know, when can I finish my homework so I can go play with my friends. Like that's like number one priority.
Yes.
They live day by day,
Yeah.
right? And as we all get older, we don't. We live months in the future. It's like, oh man, what am I gonna do in August? It's like, I don't know, man. What about today, right? It's you know it's May. It's like, we're focused on May. But it's hard. It's hard to live in the present, right? It's hard to live outside of this sort of impending doom, like that we always have in the back of our minds. That, oh my God, I'm gonna mess it up. This is gonna happen. And I do think that idea of growing is so important for all of us as adults and as people to learn and to figure out that it's like it is okay to not know. Even as an adult, like as a kid, yeah, it's okay to ask questions. As you get older, it's still okay to ask questions. You could be 40 asking questions. You could be 80 asking questions.
You should.
You should, right?
You should.
You should. No, absolutely. And you know, learning is part of life. It's part of the joy of life,
Yes.
right? We learn forever until we die.
And that is exactly the key point here. Like it never stops. Life is an endless growth journey, and we will never figure it out. We'll never have all the answers. Nobody of us, no matter the education, the background, the experiences, because they're all limited at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think that is also again one of the major steps on the way to happiness and mental health or health in general, is to accept that and to not just accept it, to embrace it, because it's beautiful. You said a lot of important things there. It's actually a relief. It's a relief when you acknowledge, I don't know everything and I never will, and I don't have to.
Right.
I don't have to.
Right.
But it also requires an open mindset, being open. And that is, I think, what is one of our biggest problems as humans. Like because as you were saying, like when we're young, we're so open, right? Because we don't know, as you were saying, you think, oh, they have it all figured out, right? And we learn, and that's how we absorb, but we learn from only that small circle around us. We don't know how people on the other side of the world are doing it, right? Yeah. And then the older we get, the more we think, yes, we have figured it out now, right? Yeah. And then we get very rigid in our opinions and in our statements and in our beliefs and our values, and that is the beginning of the end, because that's where we judge each other, because like, no, I know this is right, so how you doing it must be wrong, right? And the more we develop a more open and also compassionate and kind kind of interaction with each other, like being just open. Just because somebody is very different than me doesn't mean I'm right, he's wrong, or he's right, I'm wrong. I think that's insanely essential for us as a collective. It's so important. And the beautiful thing is everything that's good for us as a collective will also be good for you personally, individually. So the more humble you are in your being like, I don't know anything, really. It's this really, over time, and it's beautiful as you grow up, getting older is a very interesting experience, because when you're young and you learn a lot and you think, oh, I got it all figured out, right? And then if you keep learning, which you hopefully do, the more you learn, the more knowledge you actually acquire. Right. You're here and then you're here. When you're up here, you realize, I know nothing. So it actually goes down. There's a beautiful graphic with that. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know anything. Yeah. And that's super important though, and being okay with that. And that is very much the opposite of this whole social media world, right? Where everybody is trying to prove and to show, hey, I got it. I know exactly, you know, I have the best and I know this. And like, I think we all have to be a bit more careful with putting out our opinions, because that's all it is. It's my opinion. It's not an eternal truth, right? So yeah, it's a beautiful process, and I personally find it actually very lightening. The more you realize, hey, there's so much I don't know, the more knowledge you actually acquire, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then you're actually open to it.
Yeah.
And the more you open to it, the more actually you can take in, rather than when you close yourself off. You really literally close yourself off when you think I got it figured out. So the more you allow yourself to not know things, the more you will actually know.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a quote that I really like, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who said it. But someone will know who's watching this. But one of my favorite quotes, and I think it really touches on what you're saying, and it's one of the biggest struggles, or one of the biggest problems in life, is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right, but not enough about a subject to know you're wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a wonderful quote, because what comes with knowledge is not. I think we have a misconception about what it means to learn. When you learn things, it doesn't solve it doesn't answer the problems. That's not really the point. The point is to learn what else there is to learn, and that's what makes it an endless process. And so the more you learn, the more things there are to learn, because you have a new foundation, and now with that foundation, there's the tree almost sort of widens, right? It's like trees, like branches. The more branches you go, there's more and more branches to split, and you can learn this and you can learn that, and you can go whichever way you want, and it opens up all these new possibilities. But the important thing is to not stop when you get to the branch. It's like, oh, I got it. I took a turn and now I'm on this branch and we're good. No, there's more. There's more branches, and then you branch to get the leaves, and it's like there is a continuous cycle of learning. It never ends. And we get stuck in that.
And not getting overwhelmed by it.
Right.
Because I think the more we have the expectation to reach a certain goal of knowing something or being something or experiencing something or whatever it might be, the more pressure you put onto yourself. So the more open you are, and the more you accept that there is never an end point, the more you can relax about it. And that's a very, very important part for our mental health and for our well-being, because the worst thing for our health and well-being is stress, and overwhelmment is literally the expression of stress. So yeah, the more relaxed you get about that, the better for your health and the more things will slow down, and the healthier you will be, and the more you will actually enjoy life rather than rushing through it, and rather than chasing constantly, because that's very much what happens then.
Absolutely. I want to switch gears a little bit, talk a little bit about you, sort of personally. And I want to start with the sort of your journey into yoga and Reiki and all of these amazing things that you're doing and teaching. When did you realize that was something that you were interested in, and that, modern medicine and sort of the medical field was not everything there was to life?
It's a very interesting question, because it's a bit blurry, because I originally come from banking, so I worked in a bank for 11 years. That's my background. I never had anything to do with the health system as such, and I was always in a very lucky position that I was always very healthy, so I was never really in touch with that, and I think the first time I got my interest for yoga was sparked by a friend of mine who took me to a yoga class, which was a Bikram class back then, so hot yoga. Because before that I was like very much, yoga was for me like, it's nice stretching, whatever. I like kickboxing, and I always liked more, and I played beach volleyball and competitive stuff, like just really different. And yoga was never on my radar, ever. And then that Bikram yoga class really got my attention, because it was competitive. Like it sparked my competitive nature, let's say it like that, being like, holy shit, how are they able to do this? Because it's so hard. And I considered myself healthy and fit. And I literally have had to sit down every few moments because I was dizzy. And so yeah, that kind of got my, I don't know, like my competitiveness, I guess.
Yeah.
That was my first encounter with yoga and changed my perception of yoga, really. It's like, whoa, this is insanely hard. Yeah, it's not what I thought it was. And honestly, like years later, I started actually practicing regularly, and it was literally the feeling afterwards. Like coming out of a yoga class, that feeling is hard to describe. It's like, it's till this day, those are my favorite moments of the day, when after yoga class, you feel you feel renewed and refreshed and clear, and the best ideas and realizations I've always had after yoga, always, because it kind of, the fog lifts and everything else that the chatter and the noise of the world and what we were talking about, right, kind of breaks off for at least a moment, and you activated your body, your energy flow, right? It has a lot to do with energy, and you're just clearer and lighter, and you feel amazing, and you feel strong, and you feel happy and positive, and so that's addictive. Honestly, it's addictive, and that's what got me, and that's and eventually, till this day, I cannot tell you why I did my first yoga teacher training. It was a purely 100% intuitive thing. I was like, I just want to know. I want to know more. I just want to do a yoga teacher training, and I never had the plan to really enter this industry or start this career. It was simply an intuitive thing. I just found myself booking, I think, in a sleepless night at 2:00 in the morning, literally. And it's like, okay. And then I was there, and it changed my life. It changed my life forever. And that's the next step. Then I think after that was me personally starting to have health problems for the first time in my life after COVID, which was something very shattering for me as somebody who was always very active and fit and healthy.
Right.
And that's when I started to get more into all the other, into more different tools, and that's how I discovered Reiki, and I studied nutrition, and it's just one thing goes into the other, and it's a combination of your personal experiences, because everything you learn, it's so you can apply it to yourself. Which is one of the most beautiful things in working in a field like this, because you really learn so much for your own health and well-being, and you get to help others, and that combination is wonderful, and that's, again, it's addictive. It's really addictive to be able to be in a position where you can help people to live a healthier, more fulfilled, better life, and also, and that's why I'm now going into the education side more and more, because I want to help more people to help other people. So you are creating this whole wave, and that's what got me into it. Honestly, like it was never planned. It was every step of the way was 100% intuitive, and I cannot rationally explain it. It just kind of came to me, and I am endlessly grateful that it did. Here I am. If you would have told me this 20 years ago, I would have laughed about it. Like I said, I come from a very, very different industry and upbringing.
And for sure.
So,
banking. I mean, how do you get to here?
It's opposite direction.
It's crazy. If you had to say one thing, maybe a couple things, it's hard to think of one, but one thing that was your biggest learning from yoga, from Reiki, from nutrition, from all of the things that you do, from fitness, what has been the biggest learning in your own sort of journey into understanding this world of energy and spirituality and healing in a way that many of us don't?
Slowing down. Honestly, that's an easy one, actually, because I was always as I said, I was always very competitive and by nature very fast and very I was always planned out and always a million friends and 1,000 things to do and very active in every direction, and also with sports and health things, right? Like to always push yourself to the limit.
Right.
That's very much who I used to be, let's say it like that. And I think through all that journey, I learned that less is more, and it really truly is. I still like competing, I still like doing fun things and being active, but I found a balance. And to find a balance, you need to first step into the opposite. You need to experience kind of both ends to then find your personal balance, which is different for everyone. And so I think that was my biggest learning, to slow down and to not always push to the limit, because there's only so much of that you can do until your body will fail you and will quit on you. Let's say it like that. In my case, my body literally quit on me. It's like, okay, this is it. So I was kind of forced to be still, which I was not used to. And then obviously, like, everything goes hand in hand. But with yoga and mindfulness, right, and meditation, it's a lot about stillness and being quiet and slowing down, and also with radio, like most of the things actually. And yeah, I think that was my biggest learning. Like, you don't always have to push. Sometimes you actually reach a goal much faster if you slow down. Yeah. As weird as that sounds, Absolutely. But it actually is very much the case.
It's so interesting because I think, in many ways the opposite. I'm naturally not a competitive person at all. I'd be the first person to say that. I never was as a kid. Always tried to, I was a kid who wanted everybody to win. Like, that was who I was, and I didn't I wasn't worried about, if I win or no. And it's been one of the biggest learnings of my life, of that same idea of balance, but in the other way, where sometimes you need to be competitive. Sometimes you need to have a little bit of fight, a little bit of fire in you, and not because it is the detriment of other people, right? The goal is not. I thought that as a kid growing up, I thought that being competitive meant I want to beat other people. It's not really about that. It's about wanting to win. And it's about wanting to beat yourself and do things that you didn't think that you could do. And it's been one of the biggest learnings for me. It's something I'm still working on, even on the basketball court. And I play basketball and being competitive, wanting to win, playing with aggression and a little bit of fire and really having that fight and it was something I was talking to my cousin about the other day. He's very similar to me, my younger cousin, and he struggles with that sometimes, where he feels like he doesn't want to hurt anybody, he doesn't want to, and I get it. I was there, I've been there, I completely understand it. But it's a sort of a switch, right? Sometimes you have to turn it on, and most of the time, if naturally you're not that way, you can have it off, and that's fine. Exactly. But I told him, like, when you're on the basketball court, it's like it's different. It's a different person that needs to be there on the plane, and people will get hit and you'll fall down, and it's a contact sport, right? And same is true in life, not literally the physical aspect of it, but competing, right? People will struggle and people will be tired, and like that is part of competing, is competing with yourself, right? It's like, can I be better? Can I do better? And to some extent, you have to compete to improve, right? Because if you're stuck in this idea that, like, oh, I don't need to win, then you'll never know how good you are, and you'll never be able to get better because you don't have a sense of your limits. And that was the biggest thing I learned, was that if I don't compete with myself, I won't ever know where I need to grow, where I need to get better, because I'll be stuck in this complacency in some sense of like, well, everything's fine, right? The goal is not to be fine. The goal is to improve and to be better and to be happy. And so as long as I wasn't fine, right, nothing was changing. And so it's been a huge learning for me. It's something I'm trying to teach my cousin. But it's just so interesting to hear you talk about it from the other lens of, for you, it was that competitiveness, right, and the fire that you had naturally, and it was learning to be okay with certain things and to let things go a little bit and be, softer in some sense. And then we meet and have this beautiful conversation, the two of us coming from completely different places. So just think it's an amazing thing to have that dialogue.
Yes, I think a very important thing maybe to throw in there is that very often the very things we define ourselves through, like certain characteristics, right? Or I am just like that, I'm just a feisty person, or I am just a shy person, or whatever it might be. Yes, of course, there is a certain tendency we have in our personality, right? But it's very, very limited actually to the real genetic kind of side, let's say it like that, or the programmed side, whatever you want to call it, and very much actually defined by the experiences you have made. And most of all, if not all of us, have made negative experiences and traumatic experiences, and then we develop certain patterns and we develop certain behaviors in order to feel safe and to protect ourselves and to feel, to be seen and to be able to survive and whatever it might be. And we all develop different mechanisms and patterns. They become patterns eventually, and very often we then define ourselves being like, this is who I am just like that. And it's actually very much a response to something you have experienced. So the more you push yourself out of the comfort zone, because that's exactly what you were talking about, right? If your comfort zone is being like, like kind of holding back and I just want to harm anybody, then it's easy to stay there, but you won't grow. So you always need to kind of look into the other side of the story and then see, okay, where can I find myself where I'm still comfortable, I'm okay, like I'm still me, right? But I challenge myself to grow and get stronger and to move. Eventually you move then beyond those patterns, because this is not you. We define ourselves very often by our patterns, and then you realize, oh, actually I can be somebody totally different. That is actually not what defines me. What defines me is the actual values and my actual beliefs and other things, right? And so I think that's a very, very important part there, which I also had to learn. Like it's not. I'm not like that. This is just something I have developed along the way to cope.
Be more.
Yes, exactly.
Don't limit yourself, I think, by saying, well, this is just how I am. I think that's limiting, right? And it's a natural instinct, and it allows us to grasp things that we sometimes we don't like about ourselves or that other people don't like about us, and say, well, that's just how I am. And so it's almost like an excuse. Exactly. And I try to challenge myself and challenge everybody who's listening to this to try not to do that. Try not to limit yourself by saying, well, that's just how I am. What else can I be? Right? Can you be more? Can you be better? That can be so how complex. You are, and we are, right? And it is, and you can be a competitor, and you can also be a softer, and I think there's a duality to everything, and you can be really organized, and you also can be okay with the mess, and there is that's another thing that I struggle with all the time, but that's a natural thing, and it's a natural thing that we have to learn, and we do have predisposition, right? And it's okay to, in your own space and the things that are in your control, to have a preference of this is how I like to have my stuff, or how I like to exist generally. But don't get caught up. in it. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. I think, like, to wrap that up, I think it's a beautiful thing that we are so complex and so diverse, and there's so many avenues to explore. Like, don't ever limit yourself. Allow yourself to experience all the different sides of you. It's so much more fun. Yeah, exactly. This is freedom to it. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I end every interview with the same question. What are some words you choose to live by, and why? Well, balance. Actually, balance is exactly what we were just talking about. I truly believe balance is always the answer. The answer will never be black and white. The answer will always be in a balance. So I think that would be like the number one word. I think that applies to literally everything in life. And other than that, I'm just in the process of starting my own business, which I named Heal, Rise, and Thrive. So I think those three words are also very, very defining of what I believe in. Healing, as in what we were talking about, past experiences, traumas, certain programmings, etc., that then turn into fears and patterns and all that. So that is, I believe the first step on a growth journey is the healing. Then you can enter the rising stage, I call it. The rising is where you really learn, right? You educate, like a lot of the things we touched on. Educating yourself and realizing that you actually don't know anything, but you're right. You're building confidence. You're building a self-esteem. You're building a sense of self in order to move forward because you have healed those wounds, so you can rise now. And then at the end of the day, once you have gone through those two stages, and all that being said,
as we were saying, nothing is ever a completed process. We'll never stop healing. We'll never stop rising, hopefully. But like the core part of it. And then the third stage would be thriving, because only then you can really thrive. And thriving for me is living healthy and fulfilled and joyful and happy and all these things we were talking about, what it is actually about, right?
Yeah.
So for me, heal, rise, and thrive is kind of the wrap up of our experience of life, of our beautiful human existence here that comes with all these ups and downs and questions and craziness sometimes. But yeah, so I think those would be my 4 words: balance, heal, rise, and thrive. And love, I actually have to add. Sorry, okay. I cannot end without that.
Add it, please.
That is obvious, yes, because that's as cheesy as it sounds. Love is the answer.
That was the answer.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.